but did send a message about Joey. Among my favorite Joey stories comes from a classmate of his back in the day. He recalls, quote, "Joey was in my history class. The whole time he would be doing math problems. And you'd think he wasn't paying attention at all, but then he would raise his hand and ask the most insightful question or give the most splendid answer to a delicate question, and then go right back to doing math problems. Joey, I have always been amazed at your range. I'm proud of you and honored to be your teacher." At the same table, we have Timothy Robertson, a mechanical engineering major, whose Stanford mentor is Lester Sue. And Timothy's teacher is David Trepkowski, who teaches biology at Fort Myers High School in Fort Myers, Florida.
Thank you. Okay, this is not going to be as good as your speeches and that because I'm not very good in front of people, but first of all, I just want to say I'm deeply honored to be here to celebrate the accomplishments of Timmy Robertson and everyone else here. Since we only have 2 minutes, I'm just going to put the phone down now and just wing it. I'm not going to talk about Timmy's all his accomplishments in high school and that. I'm just going to go and talk about 2 things that I really remember about Timmy in high school. Number one is my classroom was not just the 90 minutes every day. Because of Timmy, students came in the morning, lunchtime, after school, and his intelligence was contagious. People really, really wanted to learn. Timmy, that's all he did. He wanted to learn, whether he got it right or wrong. He was there just trying to learn. And because of that, at lunchtime, after school in the morning, a whole bunch of students came in. And whether we were just hanging out or trying to learn something new, and Tim took over because I can only get to so many people. He actually took a group over and helped teaching them. And the reason why people were drawn towards him is because his humbleness. Yes, he's intelligent in that, but it's mainly his kindness, humbleness. He's always helping others. He's always doing it with a smile. So that's number one thing I really remember about Timmy. Number two is, as a teacher, I'm really not a teacher. I'm just there to guide students. And what Timmy has done for me is definitely made me a better teacher, better educator. With his intelligence, if you want to become better, you go home and practice, and that's what I did. I wanted to try to answer as many questions that Timmy came in without having to say, hey, just Google the answer and that. So I teach IB Bio, higher level biology. I do know a lot of stuff, but I don't know everything. And one thing that I do in my classroom is I always give 2 exams, an essay exam on whatever topic. It could be osmoregulation or whatever, but also a paper 1 exam, which is multiple choice. And here's another reason Timmy became or made myself a better teacher is every test he came in, and if he got one wrong, he always wanted to find out, why was it wrong? Well, many times, guess what happened? There's a mistake on the answer key. So now what I do is I always double check my paper 1 and mark scheme, and actually I had the answers from Timmy from way back when. So I thank you for that. I'm very honored to be here. I want to thank Stanford University for inviting me also. I want to thank and congratulate each and every recipient here because, yes, we're talking about the past and that, but you guys all have such a great future ahead of you guys, and we're all proud of you. So thank you, and thanks Stanford University.
Next, we have Ujwal Srivastava, a computer science major, and Stanford mentor Lawrence Chu from anesthesiology. And Ujwal's teacher is Rodney Satterthwaite, who teaches journalism at Palo Alto High School in Palo Alto, California.
Thanks. I just want to go off script for just a second and say, I don't know if you've noticed the theme here today of like, these are amazing students academically, but more importantly, they're amazing human beings. And I think that's a clear overriding theme that's coming out today. So congratulations. I get to talk about the best human being in the room now, but you're all also really great human beings. So I used to teach speech once upon a time, and one of the things we taught our students in speech class was that you try to make a connection with your audience or with your subject matter when you're speaking. So since my subject matter is Ujwal, I went to ChatGPT, and I said, tell me the similarities between Ujwal and me. And after a few iterations of that question, I thought this was the best one. It said, you are both middle-aged white men from the Midwest. You both grew up working on a farm, and you both wanted to be cellists, but you ended up enrolling in the Army instead. So, while ChatGPT may have gotten almost everything wrong, probably everything wrong about that, I think that response illustrates a bigger point about Ujwal, and that is, of the many things that have always impressed me about him, including his academic accomplishments, his ability to lead a team, his writing skills, which were amazing. The big thing is, it doesn't really matter, it never has really mattered to Ujwal who you are or what you share in common with him. It really is the fact that he uses his political and social capital to make everyone around him feel better and to help them realize their full potential. I taught and advised Ujwal in various journalism classes for 3 years at Palo Alto High School. He was one of the editors-in-chief of our school newspaper, and during his senior year, here's an incident I think really helps illustrate this. We had a college map in our paper. I don't know if your newspapers do that or not, but it's basically a list of where all the graduates are going to college with a big map of the US showing where they go. And that started out with good intentions. It started out with the idea of let's show the community where we're going, or where our students are going. Let's show, other students who's going to the same school I'm going to. But because of the competitive nature of Palo Alto, and also because of in lieu of the Varsity Blues college admissions scandal, it had become sort of this toxic mess of bragging and people using it to make themselves feel better, parents using it at cocktail parties to say, look, I'm a much better parent than you are because your kid's going to a state university. It was all these things that were really bad. But the tradition was really entrenched, and Ujwal and his team made the really hard decision to get rid of that. And the main reason they wanted to get rid of that is because they felt like it really hurt the students who weren't going the traditional way. Now, Ujwal went the traditional way, right? And we're all here today to see that. And he cared so much about those kids who didn't that was the really difficult decision that he made, and his team too. It was covered in the New York Times. It was covered in the Washington Post. And the big push here was, here's Palo Alto, one of the right across the street from one of the most prestigious universities in the country, and they made this decision for the betterment of their community. And so I think that's a key testament to Ujwal. It's a key testament to the character that he has and the way that he cares about people. And even though he may not be a middle-aged white man, and he may not be a farmer, and he may not be a cellist. I don't think you play the cello. No. He may not be a cellist. He may not be going into the Army. He's one of the most thoughtful people I've ever had the pleasure of teaching. And I just want to say thank you for honoring me here today. And it's a real pleasure to have known you.
Next, we have Zachary Michael Teplin, a biomechanical engineering major, whose mentor is Scott Delp from Bioengineering and Mechanical Engineering. And Zachary's teacher is Angelina Cicero, who teaches English at Homestead High School in Mequon, Wisconsin.
Good afternoon. In her poem, To Be of Use, Marge Piercy writes, "The people I love best jump into work head first, without dallying in the shallows, and swim off with sure strokes, almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element." Zach Teplin is exactly that kind of person. He is an accomplished scholar who jumps into his work. He is curious about everything, never dallying in the shallows. If he finishes one pursuit, according to his very high standards, he immediately makes a quick turn and cruises across the pool for another lap, exploring the question from another angle or envisioning the next steps that will lead to progress. But what makes Zach so exceptional, such an outlier, so singular in his character, is only partially his inexhaustibility and drive. The other quality he possesses is not associated with all highly motivated, high-performing, highly confident people like him. What is this quality? It's one that almost every educator has spoken about today in addressing the qualities of their own student. Zach loves people. He is genuinely interested in building meaningful relationships, having lived experiences, and creating real connections. And if the only depth a person dives into is work, the water is cold and lonely. Zach seems to understand a mystery of life that some people do not recognize until they have received all the awards of a successful career and none of the rewards of a successful life. He recognizes that people, families, friends, teachers, coworkers, our loved ones, are what make life and all the work that we do worth the exertion of energy. Congratulations, Zach, and thank you for inviting me to share this day with you. I would like to share one more thing, which is that there's a beautiful proverb that says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. You have sharpened me in numerous ways, and I love seeing this group of people gathered here today, all of whom have clearly sharpened each other. It's a beautiful, beautiful, wondrous thing. Thank you all for having me here today, and thank you, Stanford.
Next, we have Victor Turbiner, an electrical engineering major, and Stanford mentor Boris Merman. Victor's teacher, Alexander Turbiner, teaches physics at Stony Brook University in Stony Brook, New York, and was not able to join us today, so Professor Merman is going to read some words.
Yes, I won't read though, I will keep this short. But Victor, we need to talk. Professors normally don't talk about individual students, but we did talk about you. And the reason is that you sometimes made us very uncomfortable with your deep questions. We sometimes didn't know how to answer them and even had to revise our course notes to reflect things more accurately, as you pointed out. So in that sense, we will really miss you. We are very proud that you were one of our students, and you hope you will remember us as you keep asking these deep questions and get your next call from Stockholm for the big award.
Next, Jared Robert Wasserman, a computer science major, and Stanford mentor John Mitchell. And Jared's teacher is Nathan Dummett, who teaches mathematics at Columbia Preparatory School in New York City, New York.
Hi. There are a lot of great things I could say about Jared today. His tenacity in the face of hard problems in math class, the way that he's really good at breaking a hard problem down into smaller, manageable pieces and then putting those pieces back together to arrive at a beautiful solution. But like many of my colleagues today, I want to focus on who he is as a human instead of just as a mathematician and as a student. There were a lot of large personalities in our honors math program at my school, and Jared always had a really good habit of kind of breaking through this miasma of mansplaining and one-upsmanship to quietly be in the back of the room, creating either a computer simulation or a model to show why he was right and the other student was wrong. He would do this with kindness and generosity that was in no way judgmental or competitive, and just made my class a great place to learn and to be. Another feature of my class that you may remember was that we had a prime number generator in the front of the room. This is, it's a desktop machine with a big red button on it. When you press this button, the next prime number is generated on this tiny odometer. In celebration of your achievements, I got you one. This says 13 on it. That's a rather low prime. And when you press this button, it's going to go to the next prime, which should be 17. It's going to keep doing that until it gets to 999,983, as we all know. And I don't know if it's going to go and start over at 2 after that or not. So you've got to live long enough and keep doing great things long enough to find out. Congratulations.
Next, Dennis Wu, an electrical engineering major.